Hi, I'm Caryn McGrandle, and welcome to the third episode of Witch. And we are speaking about rituals and ceremonies today. And I'm going to start it off with what I do every single morning for the past decade. I have gotten up and I go out on my back porch and I put my hands up in the air and I say to the divine creator, deep breath. How many of you all can put your hands up comfortably? By the way, in public, there is a question. I started off this path and I was in a park and I put my hands up. That's a goddess move, putting your
Yes,
hands up to the sky, to the moon. And then I put my hands down, Mother Earth. And then I put a hand out and I say, Sacred Earth teachers. And I put a hand out to the other side and I say, Sacred gatekeepers. And then I put them around and say, sacred circle of life. I stand here today in a pose of gratitude. I give thanks to the divine creator who supports me, who blesses me, who heals me. I'm wise, I'm healthy, I'm full of energy. Some mornings I don't feel like any of that,
no,
but I
my
take them and I claim them.
yes.
I
Um,
am that woman standing on a cliff. And that's my power woman.
Mine is to
May
every
there be
morning.
beauty above me,
Oh, still
beauty within me,
love it.
beauty below me. I'm going to hand it to you in a second, Jen.
That's fine.
Most important part of our day, I think, is how you start off that day and how you end that day. And it's very important to do it intentionally with a ritual like that. And I'm often amazed at how many of us reach for our phone and start scrolling,
Yeah.
or I find myself uh, worrying about things. I also have an Abraham Hicks uh, tape that I listened to. It's about this morning and seizing it and being the perfect opportunity. And I do that when I go to bed too. And I just got back from Dollywood taking my kids out there. And I did that morning ritual yesterday at the Econo Lodge.
Wow.
I stepped outside my door
Love
and
it.
I put my hands up in the air
Love it.
and I turned and there was a group of people walking right towards me with their
Good.
coffee and their breakfast. And I didn't give a shit. I
No.
didn't give a shit. And that's, you know, part of what we want to talk about today is why does the word ritual have a negative connotation? How much we as human beings really need ritual and ceremony in our life, and how that has become flat in our culture. So, Jen, I'm going to hand it to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. My morning ritual is I usually get up at 4:30 because the dog has to go out and it's just peaceful because if you go out, you notice the birds first thing. The birds are awake, it's time to get up. So I go out to my favorite trees and I go around them and 3 times. And it's like my dog even does the same thing because she knows the ritual of us doing it every day. So I raise my hands up. I say, thank you, world, Mother Earth. I thank the Mother Earth for giving me all this nature, the beauty of the land, the spirits of the land, the ancestors that I have, the whatever is spirits watching over me, the guardians. And I also when I give it to myself first, but then I lift my hands up and I give it to the world for peace. I know peace is a hard word, but I give my love, my peace whoever needs it because I mean you think of all these people, in Pakistan, and you think of all these people in Iran, everybody's not mean, and they need this peace, and they need some kind of something. So I just hope it goes out to the people that really need it. And I just walk around the yard, and I drink my coffee. Um, it's a ritual, and it keeps me going for the day. It's like I need it. If I don't do it, I'm off. Everybody has ritual.
Cynthia, you're up. You've been up.
Yeah, every morning I get up and I go sit outside and I turn my face to the sun and close my eyes and just feel the warmth of it penetrating through me and ask that I have peace in the day and that I'm able to to emanate a sense of peace and that my energy will be directed to where it needs to go. Um, Sometimes it's more elaborate, but consistently, that's what I do.
I want to also throw in there Shirley Labukane's book, Walking the Path, the Cree to the Celtic. That's where I got that prayer that I do every single morning. So, why do you all feel I was doing a lot of just thinking before this and ritual is something that's done with intention is kind
Mhm.
of the important thing there. And ritualistic tends to have a very negative connotation in our society. So why do you all think what's behind that? I'm going to fix my camera because it's a little blurry. Better.
Well, I think that one thing they try to focus, anybody tries to focus that, like if we're saying we're doing a ritual, they think, oh God. But in all, it's kind of like a celebration for us when we're out there doing Sabbaths. And, celebrations can come in all forms. It can come in weddings. So it's really, I don't understand the effect that it has on the people and we need to dissect it and see what the problem is.
I think it's has a lot to do with fear and the um the the cultures of our established religions worldwide have handed over the power to conduct ritual to ordained priests and ministers so that when an individual is seen doing a ritual in public it's it's looked at with suspicion. Even Christians who are in a restaurant and gather around the table and hold hands and pray. Um, Even among Christians, that's seen as something ostentatious, something that you should save for your privacy. Don't do that in public. So it's it's something uh, that pagans and goddess worshipers are looked down upon for, as well as some Christians. It's it's a it's a result of the systematic taking away of any power from the individual and giving it over to the authorities of the church, be they Christian church or otherwise. Um, and it's certainly not fair on any of us. And it's time we all of all religions, take back our own power to commune with our God or goddesses as we see fit.
Yeah, if you think about it, Islam, I mean, they say their prayers. They kneel and say their prayers every morning. They're not ashamed of it. And, Judaism, they always light their candles on Fridays, and it's not a shame to do that. Each culture has their monks. Each culture has their traits on what they do. So there's no shame that we need to have for us either.
Yeah, it goes back to that idea of control, again, back to that idea of control. And when I think about when I do ritual or something witchy or goddessy in public, I think, oh, I'm going to look like a crazy person. And that so much of our popular culture we have been shoved into this box of behave, be a good girl, be a good boy, be quiet.
Yeah.
Sit over there in the corner and don't be loud, don't make noises, don't dance, don't move, unless you happen to be like a paid professional dancer on stage, and then you can. But as just somebody going through life, but we crave this meaning in our lives. I believe it's a human need that we have.
Yes.
We were watching the World Cup soccer, and it was Scotland and Brazil, and we watched the beginning when they did the country anthems or whatever, and oh my gosh, I mean, the people were so emotional. They were showing people who were like crying, and you could just see like this, and again, look at when the Knicks won. Look at how excited everybody got, and how we need this meaning in our life. And that's what I think has happened because we don't have a spiritual meaning, because at the end of the day, it's just an anthem. It's just a basketball game. I mean, you didn't really do anything. The people on the team did, but you didn't. I mean, it brings us together. It's great. It's wonderful. But, you know, we have filled this human need for ritual and ceremony instead with these cultural soccer, sports and teams and other items like that.
Acceptable forms of ritual.
Yeah.
One thing that that I would love to help other people do is to have less fear to worship and as they want to, without fear of persecution or of just snide looks or remarks or um, just feel free to do what your heart tells you to do.
When I was looking for this podcast and thinking about it, so ceremony involves ritual. Ritual does not have to involve ceremony, but ceremony involves rituals. And it's, passages or seasonal or other items like that. And it started me really thinking about what do you need? What are some items you need to have a good ritual? So, the first one that popped into my mind was what we've been talking about, getting rid of that fear of looking stupid.
Yes. Don't be embarrassed. I
That's all
mean,
you
I went out
need.
and we went to Puff, and there was three of us, and we didn't have to really need anything. We had one buttercup flower in the middle of this field, and we sat around it and just gave a ritual before we went to Puff, the pagan unity festival. And we gathered around and we just sit there in the grass, just staring at this buttercup, flower. And to me, that was a ritual that helped us get going through the day. It was an energy, everything is energy. And I feel like if you have, even if it's to yourself, you're given energy that you need to stimulate for the day.
And objects and things help you to focus, but they're not necessary. You know, like you say, Jen, all it took was a flower to help everyone in that circle focus their intent at the same time. Um, you can have all sorts of elaborate things, um, but they're not what give the ritual power. It's your focus.
So
Um,
tell me about some of the best rituals you have been at, part of.
um, gosh, I mean, for
Don't
me,
want me telling that you went flat there. That we all.
huh?
Well, just that it took a while to think of. You like looked like I don't know. I
Yeah,
mean, and that's part of why we're doing this podcast, is I really feel that we need more opportunities for rituals. We need more opportunities for ceremony. I grew up Catholic. I looked forward to Mass because it was an hour that my family got together. It was music and sensual, the stained glass, the statues, meditation, the pausing, all of that. When my second divorce, when I didn't feel welcomed in the Catholic Church anymore, and I set out on this path, and I started my app, and I started going to gatherings all over the world, and not all over the world, all over the U.S. I wish I could go all over the world. I see the ones all over the world, but I haven't been there yet. And so I've spent a lot of time thinking about this. What makes a good ritual? What makes a good ceremony? Because I'm going to be honest, some of them that I've been to are just like, the same thing with a different name on it. And it's just people
Yes.
reading route from a piece of paper. And, I read a book that Byron Ballard, The Village Witch, out in
Yes, I love her.
yeah, and that she had written, and it talked about one of the things for good ritual is that you have to have that belief within yourself. And
Yes.
she called it Bafo, I believe. I'm gonna maybe get that word right, but wrong. But it was, I'll have to put it in the description. But it basically, and it's a theater term of Bafo that you have to feel it and you have to have a stage presence. Because if you're not believing it, then how can you get anybody else to
Oh
engage
yeah.
with it?
Exactly. It's like when I first had my first one here at the house, Cynthia was there, and I was very emotional. Um we had everything on the table. I mean, we had everything out there for ritual. It was beautiful. We even wore the robes, took pictures and everything. And then we got serious about it. And then I just put the paper down because I just couldn't. I needed to feel more. So, I mean, it was short and sweet, but I think that's probably one of my favorites is doing the first one by myself, scared as I was at home.
yeah, when I was thinking about your question, Karen, that's that ritual right there, Jen, that you're talking about is the one that I was going to mention. That first ritual that Jen led in your backyard, it was wonderful. Um, and it was
Oh, you're talking about the other day
no,
No.
this was
in
about
Jen's
3 years ago.
backyard. It was
About
for what?
it was about 3 years ago.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, and what was it? Was what type of ritual?
What was the purpose,
It
Jen?
was it was the Hecate,
Okay, that's right.
and we had crafts. We just had a wonderful, beautiful, loving time, and I'll never forget it. And I know she was there.
We made a whole day out of it, didn't we?
Yes,
Yeah, it was an invocation to Hecate
yes.
and to ask her to find favor with us. And we gave an offering and we had a fire and we danced and we drummed and
Gave
um
a little bit blood. Some people did, some people didn't. It was just up to you. You didn't have to, but it was just to give a little bit.
yeah.
It was
Give a
beautiful.
little bit of blood, expand.
With a
Well,
needle, we
go
had a
ahead.
needle and just pricked our finger, just a tiny bit, just
Because
to put,
Separate
our
needles.
essence, into the ritual and to demonstrate to the goddess that we're serious.
Yeah, we're here. We're really serious. Yes.
we just did a podcast on witchcraft TV online. And in it, I was speaking about, in the Catholic Church, they have transubstantiation, which is the belief that when you go up and take communion, the communion wafer actually becomes the blood and body of Christ. It's not symbolic, it actually becomes. And this is a tenet of Christianity that is, sometimes tough for people
Well,
to
it's very emotional too because I'm Methodist and we did take of the bread and the grape juice, I should say. But it was very emotional. I mean, taking that and thinking, oh gosh, it's serious.
Yeah, I always look forward to those because
Yeah.
in Protestant churches we don't do it every Sunday. But when it was communion day, I
Yes.
was so excited to be a part of this ritual because there is power in it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
So again, it goes back to that control, though, because as in Christianity and the religion, it's the blood and body of Jesus, and it's the priest who hands it out. So, you being in your backyard and pricking your finger is scary. That's occult. That's blood magic. That's dark forces. Uh,
I
what do we
practice
feel about
left
that?
side. Well, you have to have a balance, I think. I practice some of the left side, I practice some of the right side, but that's what I call it. But you have to have both to balance because if you don't, it's just too much on one side. It weighs down.
What
So
is the
you have to
left and the
balance.
right side?
The left path is more of Cynthia, help me out, more of a
painful magic,
yes,
painful magic, where you seek to
Painful? Painful?
painful.
baneful,
Baneful.
where you seek to um,
Yeah.
it's a spell work that involves revenge or
Or justice. Yeah.
yeah, it's some witches choose to not do any baneful magic at
Mm-mm.
all. But even a love spell
Yes.
is baneful magic because you're seeking to control
Control, yes.
someone else.
And
I
I
don't do
always
that.
I always like to, okay, I'm inviting in love into my life. I'm inviting in a relationship into my life, but it's not a specific person. It's the person
Right,
Oh
that
no.
that
right. And that's not baneful. But if
right.
you if if you have your designs on someone who is in another relationship and you do spell work to influence them to end that relationship and be attracted to you, that's baneful magic because you're controlling, you're seeking to control their will. So any spell work that tries to control the will of someone else is left hand path.
And also, it's a more of an occult side of things, and I do study
Define a
occult.
cult. Jen, define a cult.
Okay, like I wasn't in a cult a long time ago, and it
No,
was
but you're
an
talking cult or occult?
occult, 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 not a cult. It's
Cult.
occult.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah. Um, at one time, about 3 years ago, I was in one from Romania. I met a guy online, and it was for the Order of the Dragon. Have to look it up and research if you need to. Order of the Dragon, and it. What I went into it for was the magic. I went into it to learn more deeper things because my mind wants to know more of the other side of things, but I do balance it out with the right.
It's
And And the cult is like more history, more in depth. Um, it's seeking the mysteries of and really doing it. Especially if you're in an occult. You because I had to write a lot of essays and stuff, and to this guy, and I got in, and it was beautiful. I mean, we did rituals over the phone, online. A bunch of us got together. We did like a money offering jar thing, and like their money is color of tan and not green like ours. So we had to get like waterfalls that matched the color of their money. So I got the color of my money and matched it with a waterfalls with greenery and all that stuff. But they're really it's really interesting. The only reason I got out of it is because I never get to go over there and do hands-on with them. It was all online.
Um,
But it was very interesting. It was great.
But
But it was more like
and it sounds to me a little bit more about power and control again, because they're controlling who gets in. And I just looked up like a cult, the definition is hidden or secret or
hidden. Hmm.
supernatural. And to me, that kind of again smacks me of like Christianity, okay, only the church holds the power, only the priests can do it, only the ministers can do it. And
Mm-mm.
this is the other side of, okay, only, Lord Grand, I know they all got
Yeah, I learned how to do
stuff.
exorcism. I know how to do exorcism. I took 2 classes on it, and I did it on my own. It was not so much control. Yeah, they had their little things you had to do, like high power magic, but it was hidden. It was beautiful. I can't say a lot because I respect them, but it was more left-sided stuff, and I
um,
balanced it out.
Occult magic, um, generally speaking, deal more with well, what a lot of us call high magic, and
Yes.
they're working with demons and
Mhm.
angels and the demiurge and a lot of
Samuel,
Abrahamic uh,
Lilith,
traditions.
vampire
Um,
stuff. Yeah.
and the um, the there are rules that have been laid
Hmm.
out to
I
deal
know.
with these entities, and um, some people feel that if you don't follow those rules,
Right.
you can't work with them.
And that's why
Now,
I left.
now, I don't feel that way.
I don't either.
I don't feel that way at all. Um, I feel that you can work with whomever you want to work with,
I agree.
and that if you approach these spirits, these entities with respect,
Hmm.
that you're not going to have any dangerous fallout from working with them. Um, that I love Aleister Crowley.
Oh,
I
I do too.
I love him. I wish I'd known him,
Hmm.
but if you've ever tried to read one of his books, you kind of get an idea of how these strictly high magic societies work, because you can't understand a word of what he says.
That's so true. Even in his diary, you're like, what?
It's hidden.
Yes.
It's you know
The
I
books are
like
even
I
hidden.
when I read him, I read it like a stream of consciousness, and my brain takes in what it's able to take in, and I like to think that he kind of wrote it that way,
Yeah.
that because he wasn't very hip to the whole secrecy thing. That's why him and William Butler Yeats fell
Yes.
out from the Golden Dawn, because everybody that was in the Golden Dawn when he started, hanging
Controlling
out with those
himself.
guys, were like, well, you have to go through this process that takes a year and a half at the minimum to
Mm-hmm.
be able to commune with this spiritual entity. And Crowley was like, I can do it in 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, no, no, that you can't do that. Can't do that.
Yeah.
Hate it when people tell you you
Um,
can't do things.
That's one reason I left is because of that. I felt like if I'm going to do something, I don't really need anybody to tell me what to do. I like to research and do it on my own because I do not like nobody controlling me. I'm an Aries and I'm hard-headed and let me do it myself.
yeah, me too.
Yeah, and that's so that podcast when we were on last time on the Witchcraft TV online, and he said, "Well, how long have you all been practicing?" And my initial thought was, I've been practicing my whole goddamn life.
Yes,
Oh, you mean
me too.
witchcraft?
Yeah.
Now, I've been practicing. I responded to that Facebook post that I remember going to my brother's baseball games, and he was a pitcher, and I remember sitting in the bleacher and I would just imagine this source like coming through my body, traveling down my body, out my foot, and up to him on the mound, helping him do good pitches. And it worked. I didn't know what that was. I didn't know anything about energy. I didn't know anything about, but
Hmm.
intention and your mind does magic. So,
Yes.
I didn't know when Jenn, when you said Golden Dawn, I don't even know who they are. I honestly couldn't care. And that's probably like part of our witch podcast.
Yeah.
Am I a witch? I don't know about Golden Dawn. I have no interest in taking some course or certificate or a
Oh,
year's
I'm not
worth of
either.
study. Um,
But I study
but
it though.
uh so sorry, I lost my train of thought. Um Yeah, so I started looking up. I started looking into what the Golden Dawn was, and I did some research for this podcast on it. And the thing that I was hit with, and I've heard that name before, Aleister Crowley and Wicca and all of that. And the thing that I was most struck by was that they were pretty much 85% male, like every name on
You
them.
are so right.
And so,
Yes,
it said that one of the things was it was open to both men and women, and I
it
respect
is.
that. But at the same time, it was Wicca was formed by Victorian era male culture. So it's got that it took from lots of different traditions and it kind of took them all together and it put it out there and so much respect for that and putting the knowledge. I mean, knowledge is always good, study is always good, but for me personally, there's a next step.
Hmm.
Yeah, Gerald Gardner, when he started Wicca, it was one of the main purposes of his intent in setting it up was to legitimize witchcraft by giving it a set of, giving it dogma, giving it, putting the theories to paper by establishing a set of rules and ceremonial, um, you know, rules to follow. It was in effort to legitimize what we do and to try to stop the persecution of witches and take away some of the stigma that a lot of us get when people think that we are all left hand path. That's all we do is left hand path stuff. And if you're a witch, then you're definitely doing left hand path stuff. Um, and
What
that
is right hand path stuff, by the way?
um, working, not trying to affect another's will. Working with and through yourself.
It's
Um,
more light. Um, the it brings in the light for others. It's healing. It's just love, not love magic, but just it's just I don't know. It's bringing out what you need for that person to help yourself.
and to help the earth. you know,
Yes,
Mm.
definitely.
used to heal, like Jen said, healing work is right hand path stuff, and most of the practices in a right hand path can be um, narrowed down to be a healing. So that's a good word to put to it, Jen.
But even right hand and left hand, because that's something I like to, right is traditionally male and left is not as is a little bit inferior. That's kind of the terminology. So I'm just curious, like, why is it left and right?
Um,
Well, one reason that you do work, okay, just for example, say you're working with Lilith.
No, but
You're
why is it
gonna,
called left and right?
why is it called left? Because I have to show you, there's a pillars, right here, one left, one right, and that's in they use this for like Golden Dawn and stuff. What is it called, Cynthia?
um, the pillar they're used in masonry as well, Freemasonry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
the
there's two columns.
what I can't remember what they're called, but yeah, and it's I mean the reason, Karen, that the right is the way it is and the left is the way it is historical interpretations of the right and the
Maybe it's
left. The left, has historically been the darker, and the right has historically been the lighter. Um,
But maybe it's time to question that as well. I have
yes,
a friend
yes, you're
who,
right.
yeah, she's really into widdershins, which widdershins is when you move left instead of
Counter,
right. I've heard the whole thing about a circle, you want to start here, and this increases the energy, where widdershins decreases it. And she's like, that's not true. She's done, in fact, I believe she wrote a book or is writing a book on it. And she said widdershins she sees as more feminine. So it's not just this historically where you say, left is receive and right is out. So here's the vulva and here's the penis. But it's actually, left can see as creative and as the feminine, created creation as well.
yes. When I'm doing, spell work and meditation, I will, you know, use my hands and focus on that, as you just said, the receiving and the giving,
But inviting you to maybe it's not receiving, maybe it's feminine and masculine, and maybe it's not receiving, but generative and forming, a
yeah,
vulva and the power of creation that sits in our wombs as women.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
I love that.
I do too.
Yeah, so that kind of set me when we were, when I was preparing for this and I was thinking and I thought about, I've been doing circles now for a dozen years. And when I started them outside of Chicago in the Moon Lodge, a shed in the back, and women would come and we would start with the directions. And, I still do that to this day where I call on the directions to
Hmm.
close the circle, bring the circle in and the energy in. But at the same time, and I know that has an indigenous space, American Indian and indigenous cultures do the directions. And I've always liked it because I think about it's recognizing the opposites in the world. And you can stand in one place and it looks different. If you look that way, 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 you get a different perspective on things. And that's why I really like calling in the directions because it brings me to right here. At the same time, I hear a lot, and this is something that we've talked about a little bit on the first two is appropriation. And, I do feel this like you want to discover what is your ancestry. And calling directions was not. Calling directions was something that would start with a Wiccan, and I don't want to get hung up on, oh, that's not right, this is right, and that's wrong. I mean, at the end of the day, if it works for you and it's not
Yeah,
harming other people, do it.
yeah, That's how I
But then I had some, but then my next step was okay, I think it's very important to delineate at the beginning of a circle that this is ordinary life where we're wondering, what's for dinner and the errands and what we need to go buy at the store. And now this is something that's sacred. This is a ritual. This is a ceremony. We are stopping everyday life and we are taking some deep breaths. We're noticing the sights, the sounds, the smells. We're removing ourselves from everyday life and coming to this center. So,
that
and
that
however you do that is however you want to do that.
yeah, that's
I agree.
that's the core of what ritual is, that you set yourself apart from the concerns of everyday life, and
Hmm.
you enter a non-physical space where where the sacred, you can commune with the sacred because you're not all hung up on everyday concerns. And whatever helps you to reach that state of openness,
I
whatever
agree.
works for you is.
What I think what you pull from your heart, energy is energy, and you're vibrating that energy into what you're given. So I feel like that you could do it any way that you would like. I think it's beautiful.
I hear all sorts of people saying, "No, you can't."
I do too.
My next thing, and feel free to put that in the chat.
There's so
Yes,
much.
Or the
please.
comments. Well, we'll listen to it.
We'll
Because
listen.
that's what we're doing here. At the end of the day on this Witch podcast is examining that word. And something else I had said was, to me, witches are in every religion. And I don't mean
Yes,
we're hiding out, sneaking, and pretending not to be ourselves. I'm saying that the word witch to me is somebody who works with the earth and with seasons and cyclical and feminine, yeah, feminine, and Jewish. I have a friend Jewish. She's a Jewish witch. Lots of those. And what we're bringing, and what we're bringing is the feminine. And so I took another thing that I was doing when I was getting ready for this is I took a step back and said, okay, well, if Wicca really isn't my thing, and parts of it are, parts of it are not, what would pre-Christianity, earth-based spirituality? I very firmly, I think that is a part of it too, the earth-based part of it, because I get into a forest and that's sacred to me. That's a
it
chapel.
is. I agree. The forest is a beautiful place, and I'm telling you, when you get into one and you really put your ritual, private, even private ritual in there, it is spectacular. And I totally agree. This, I was reading a book from Catherine Bell. Um, Catherine Bell wrote Ritual Theory and Ritual Practice. She said this something like, when a ritual feels powerful, it is because of the beliefs behind it, the actions themselves, the community participating in it, and some combination of all three. She would encourage us to investigate all of these possibilities rather than assume a single answer.
Yeah.
But I was gonna say something about, you was talking about the forest, and then I thought about something that she wrote in there about, how important it is to take the community, if you're going to do a community ritual, if you're going to do a single ritual, if you're just going to do a celebration out in the woods and have a picnic, you know, we should not be ashamed of anything that we do. Like I said, I don't know where I was leading up to, but there's something right there.
So I then went the next steps and I actually asked Claude, Claudette,
Claudette.
what would a pre-Christianity earth-based ritual be like? And it came back to me and said land-based, that it's more gathering at a sacred natural site, be that a river or a well or a cave. Caves are very, honoring the land in it. Votive offerings left at water sources, objects dropped into sacred wells or bogs, which I found very funny because I bought a bog. I never even know what a bog was, but I bought one 3 years ago. And funny enough, if you go down to my bog, there is the place that I am go to reach. It's very wild, and you can't walk through it, but there is a little creek, and I'm working on trying to figure out ways to get water from the creek just to wash
Oh,
off when we're
wow.
there for the weekend. And I have left at it. I have a Lady of Fatima rosary from a good friend of mine, Letitia. It is absolutely gorgeous. And I left it there, and it was hard to do. I also have this belief that when you leave something, it needs to be something that's hard to leave, that's something that
Yes.
means to you. I had another experience at a Gather the Women gathering out in Maine, and we did a tree meditation. And we were supposed to leave something at the end of the tree meditation. And I had a friend from Buenos Aires who had brought me this absolutely beautiful rock. And I had it with me, and I didn't really have anything else. So I decided that I would leave that rock, and it hurt.
Oh
I
no.
did not want to leave the rock. It was beautiful. But I left it. I left it, and I left the meditation, and I walked back, and I happened to bump into my friend, and you will never believe what she pulled out of her pocket. She said, "Caryn, oh, I'm so glad I ran into you. I brought something for you." And she brought me the same exact rock. I wish I could remember what it was, but polished and bigger.
Oh my. I love that.
So
See, that was a
that
blessing.
to me is what, when we give, we get.
Yes, I
And it has
totally
to be
agree.
things that are meaningful to you.
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. So then the two other things, the three things, it says fire is central, which I am a huge, I mean,
Oh, I'm
out at a
too.
fire has always been like, and doing it in an intentional manner with drumming or singing and honoring the ancestors, particularly at Suan when the veil is thin.
Then,
And yeah, the sacredness being the land itself and not the container. I liked all that.
yes, I like that too. I
Yeah,
love it when the veil's thin because, I mean, you just feel the energy from that veil being thin.
All right, we have 6 minutes. So, anybody have any final thoughts on? I keep coming back to two. So, the purpose of this podcast is to discuss the word witch, to what is it? What is it not? How does it fit in? Where is it with goddess spirituality? I also have this huge belief that we're living in a very messy time,
Yeah,
and I spent so many years trying to search for the perfect ritual, the perfect ceremony, the perfect community.
yeah.
And I finally have gotten to the realization that it's not there yet.
You'll get there.
And we're here because first of all, because I knew deep down how broken our culture is. It's
Yes.
broken in so many different manners, and there's so much that people are yearning for and really need to find to have a balanced
Yeah.
life. And then I, walked into goddess spirituality and have found much of what I was looking for. Final thoughts on rituals and ceremonies. And
I
I
said,
kind of wanted to hear the ritual and the witch ritual in Birmingham. Can we, Cynthia, can you tell us a little bit about, years and years and years ago? And
well, when I was thinking about the subject of this podcast back in the 80s, when we wanted to do an outdoor ritual where we invited several people, we had to hide. We had to do it in the middle of the night, out in the woods, off the path, or in a cemetery. Um,
and can you imagine coming upon a bunch of witches in the middle of the wood in the middle of the night? No
I
wonder.
love it.
Forget about
but
I
the,
did the same thing,
we, we
but
we we couldn't just go out onto the quad on campus and do a ritual. It we well we could have, but it's I don't know what would have happened to us. Maybe nothing,
Yeah.
but we may, but we felt that we weren't safe to do that.
Yeah.
Um, and in the 90s, I searched for like-minded women or men too. I was hungry to have a community, and I couldn't find it. There were people that I did, individuals that I met, but there was a hub in Birmingham. You maybe remember me talking about Lodestar Books. It was a place to go to network with other people that were into to mystical things. That's where I went when I wanted to buy my first book on witchcraft. I went there, and they they told me to buy The Spiral Dance by Starhawk, and I've bought so many copies of that over the years and given them to new witches because I think it's the best book
It is.
to
I
start
agree.
with. Um, and I still refer to it, but um, it wasn't it it wasn't until it really wasn't until I moved back to the South and tried to gather up like-minded women when Jenn joined the group, that I was able to have a small group of women where we felt safe to practice things together.
Yes.
Um, and we went out a couple of times to public places, to a creek, similar to what you and I did, Caryn, at the falls. Just small rituals, but when you when you gather with more than one person, you feel braver. Um, on the one hand, if you want to do a ritual outside and you're on your own, it's easier to be incognito if you're by yourself and not worry that anybody's thinking that you're raising the dead or something like that. And then when you go with more than one person to do an outdoor ritual, you've got power in numbers. Um, but I just the more of us that aren't afraid to
Yes.
go out in public and express ourselves in ritual and ceremony, the the less stigma there's going to be for all of us. It's going to take a wave of us all um, doing what we feel called to do without being afraid.
I agree. That's what I was going to say. We need to quit being afraid. I just, when we get together, even the summer solstice that we did together, oh my gosh, I, I felt so much goodness, so much communication balance together. And we don't need to be afraid anymore. We don't. We need to just, everybody does their rituals. We need to do our stuff. We need not to be afraid anymore. I mean, they've got their stuff, we got our stuff. That's just how I feel.
It's funny because when you start calling these things in, so on my way to Dollywood, I happened upon, is it calling things in or is it technology? It might be a little bit of both because I happened upon a podcast by Starhawk on a radio show, and she was talking about she's got a new book that's come out, and her first book was The Fifth Sacred Thing, and it was talking about community and this need for creating healthy, balanced, and pagan goddess-based community and the things that go into that. And I have a certain mindset these days that I get to Dollywood, and Dollywood, of course, is very Christian. It's
Mhm.
very Christian. The first thing we stopped at a thrift store, and I'm wearing my tie-dye t-shirt with a big naked woman on the front of it. And I have my the rosary that I gave up. My friend sent me another one to replace it. So I have
Oh,
Lady of Fatima rosary. I'm doing a podcast. Can you shut the fucking door for a minute? Okay. What's going on? Well, I have something I have to go to. Okay, the keys are probably hanging up. My daughter keeps opening the door. I'm like, what?
what the fuck?
I'll edit this out.
Yeah,
So maybe
and
not.
it, yeah.
um, anyhow, so I had a little bit of, like, and I'm wearing my rainbow Crocs and my paisley tights, yoga pants. And this woman, she's staring at me, like really staring. And I'm like, hi. And I smile really big, and she smiles back. And it's the owner of the store, and she has Christian things all over. And I was like, oh wow, this is really. And then, of course, Dollywood is very Christian conservative. And so I found myself with a little bit of indignation of that you're wrong, I'm right, you know?
Yeah,
And I had to walk myself through that because Dolly Parton, when you open she's a good person. I
I love
really believe,
Dolly.
and I felt that all through Dollywood, that she had paid attention to these small heart-based, and she thinks of other people. Oh my gosh, that
I
word.
love Dolly. Dolly's beautiful. I
And
loved her ever since I was little when she used to swing on the swing in that show.
yeah,
And she
so
said, "I
that's
always
another
love
thing that
you."
I want to encourage with this podcast is to not think black and white. We're, really to build this world that we need to build is we need to
Yes.
take everything on an individual basis. And, if it, like I said, if it works for you and it's not harming other people, go with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you on number 4.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.